truth.
No chaser.
Several books and studies and on TV shows, we always hear people think that addiction is a disease. And your thoughts?
Frank and I talked about it. And I always preface my response to this question with, I don't want to offend anyone.
Oh, of course. I mean, absolutely, it's from your point of view.
I suppose that, you had sent me a list of questions, and I really revisited this thing last night, and I actually looked up the definition of the word disease, and it was a disorder of structure that produces symptoms within the body of a human, an animal, or a plant. I guess you could say it is a disease somewhat.
Right.
But when you hear people say that, what I hear is a shifting of blame, a shifting away from somebody's personal responsibility. I have all the sympathy in the world for addicts. That is a fruit of my own addiction because it changed me completely. But you have to own it. And calling it a disease, I think, is a disservice to folks who actually have the real, diseases in the traditional sense. That it's no fault of their own. Most of the time, addiction is self-induced. It's something that you do to yourself.
Absolutely.
So, no, I would say no. I don't see it as a disease.
Yeah. Now there obviously are a few people, like we said, that would beg to differ. Again, This is your, so just for the record, your addiction was to opiates and alcohol.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Now, what are some myths that you want to debunk? Like, because again, you just broke down what a disease is, so you disagree with it. What are some other myths that may be in correlation with alcoholism and opiates that you want to dispel?
Everyone is subject. It can happen to anyone. It's not. There isn't a flaw within people who become addicts that we don't all share. It's something that if you ingest or participate in these activities, and you ingest these chemicals, or you do these things that release these endorphins and overload your brain, your pleasure center in your brain with these things, your body is going to adjust to it, and you will become addicted. There's not. I do believe. I warn my kids. You have you are my child, and there is a chance that you have the same tendencies that I do.
Right.
But that's more on the mental side rather than the physical. In the physical side, it will happen to anybody. It will happen to anybody if the conditions are right. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who think that it can't happen to me. I know that because I was one of them.
Yeah. Now, as far as alcohol, how, if any, do you think alcoholism differs from other addictions?
The biggest difference is it's legal. It's very easy to get, and that in itself makes it compounds the danger to it. I was talking to someone the other day about my drinking, and I really envy. I have a lot of envy for the person who can come home and pour himself 3 fingers of scotch and put an ice cube in it, and that's it. Because I couldn't do that.
Like the occasional drinker. Right?
Yeah. The person who isn't drinking to get drunk. He just he likes the taste and all of this stuff. I was never like that. It was. I God knows I tried to be, but once I had that first drink in me, that went out the door. And that was, and with the alcohol, it wasn't so much on the physical side as it was on the mental. I got shakes and I got things like that, but I never had a physical craving for it as much as I had the mental craving for it. And I can speak to that. not as an expert, but as someone who has had the physical addiction before. And it wasn't like that for me with alcohol, but I cannot go near it now. I can't. I don't mess around with it now. It's been 14 years now since I had a drink.
Which one came first? The opioid, the opioid or the alcohol?
Alcohol came first.
Okay.
Alcohol came first. I have a chronically bad back. I've had a couple of surgeries, and when I was introduced to the prescription opiates, it was like a whole new world for me. And before too long, it was my whole world. It was all that I cared about.
We one of our other participants out in Washington, Carl, he mentioned that to me, sort of a cross addiction. So like you said, you started off with the alcohol, and then then you become dependent on opiates, and then it's like after a while one can't be without the other, and and it was not your intention, obviously, but
it wasn't with me. It wasn't a dependence. There was big dependence on opiates. If I didn't have the opiates, I would get physically ill, and it was really bad. That was, I often say that addicts lose their souls, and sometimes they don't recover them. It's just it just hits. Hitting bottom, you can use that expression, hitting bottom, but it's so much different when you actually do.
It's so deep, Mr. Ken. I honestly, that's a great segue into because that was going to be my very next question when you said hitting bottom, is how, how did it affect your life, your family, your everyday life? Once the alcohol started to spiral out of control, it seemed, so to speak.
Well, it moves up your priority list rather quickly. You get to the point that
okay, all right.
It moves up your priority list rather quickly, and when it becomes the top priority, the things that should be in that position have to take second, third, fourth, fifth place, and that starts to have a tremendous impact on the people around you and the people who depend on you. With my occupation, it affected my job, it affected my family, and my wife, God love her, she hung in there.
Yeah.
She had the faith to believe that things would change, and thank God they did. But it wasn't. With my family, it wasn't. There was nobody on my side, and nor should they have been, because I was a mess. I've heard stories of people who come back rather quickly. It hasn't been that way with me. It's been crawling and clawing my way back, trying to get to where I was. But I'm a different person. I am an absolutely changed person because of what I experienced. And, I look back on it now and I think, would you change it? And I don't think I would.
Was that the toughest part of the struggle to you? The bounce back?
It has been tough. I would say that it hasn't been really crawling and clawing back as much as it has been me becoming something different, me becoming a different person, because my perspective has changed just tremendously. When you get down that low and you start to come back up and the clouds start to clear away, it changes your perspective on things. There's a tremendous change of perspective.
When did you realize it was out of your control and you was an actual addict?
Well, with the alcohol, I kind of knew all along. I had quit drinking in 1989, and I quit for 10 years, and I figured I picked it back up again in 98, 99, and I knew I said that it wasn't a problem, but I knew it was, because that process had started all over again, where I would get very, very drunk and wake up in the morning and say, I'm never doing that again. And then 10 hours later, there I was. with the opiates, it was that when those first cravings hit, and the cravings are something that is it's indescribable. It's an indescribable thing.
So it's mental and physical?
Yes. Oh, yes. The mental aspect is bad, but the physical aspect is even worse. Like if I counsel someone, I tell them you don't understand how bad it can get.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And there was no particular incident per se. Like some people have traumatic incidences that maybe, is where what started the addiction, like, had you pick it up. There wasn't anything in particular that got you to start drinking, right?
I suppose going back to one of your previous questions about the myths, one of the things I would like to say is that to dispel this myth that there's always something that pushed me in this direction. It wasn't like that with me. I just liked the way it felt.
Gotcha.
When I started with the opiates, I really thought that it made me more efficient at my job, and it wasn't. It got to be not about the pain relief that I was actually taking it for. It was about, my performance on the. I really thought that I did better. I thought that it made me a better person.
Right.
And of course, it wasn't like that, but.
Did he know?
Yeah, but there wasn't. I wasn't abused per se. There wasn't any traumatic, thing in my past where I said, this is the option I'm going to take here. That wasn't, and not to say that other people don't.
Right.
Right.
But not everybody is like that.
Gotcha.
Everybody's not running away from something.
Right. Were there any effects on your children? I mean, were they able?
How
How were they when you were dealing with this addiction?
I have a daughter that was born in '97, and one that was born in 2001, and I quit drinking for good in 2006. So
Okay.
they were, I guess, about 9 and 5, 9 and 6, something like that. I'm sure there are things that they remember that are disturbing, but the way I look at it is they know, they understand. My oldest daughter, she has a few drinks, and I don't see anything that concerns me.
Right.
If I did, I would say something.
Right.
But I like to think that one of the things that goes through her mind is, I know where this could lead, and I'm not going to take that route because she lived through it and she saw it. She was young, but she was there.
Yeah.
Kids are resilient, but they also remember a lot.
Yeah, sponges, especially in the early stages, you remember the most almost. Thank God you were able to catch it earlier on,
in their lives.
in their lives, and you made that breakthrough. Is there any encouraging words that you could probably give someone that has, a similar story to you?
Oh yeah, you can overcome it. It may not sit. I know that it seems like you can't, but the advances in medicine nowadays, there are new treatments all the time. There is counseling. There are people like me. I see it as a responsibility that I have.
Right.
Since I've been through it. I feel like I need to help. And when that's how I got here. Is we talked about this, and if somebody comes to me and asks me for counsel or help, I always provide it. If for no other reason, just to remind myself where I was and where I went, and just to serve as an example for that addict that still suffers, as we say in the 12-step programs.
That's what I was going to ask you. So how did you get clean? What was the final straw and made you decide to?
It was what happened with me was I grew up in a very a faith-filled household, and it was that faith of my youth that was the seeds that were planted very early that showed me you know, this was something I needed to do.
Right.
I didn't want to at first, but as the clouds cleared, you see that you have to. It's something you have to do because you cannot live like that forever.
Right.
You just can't. And that faith still carries me to this day. It's what keeps me going, and it just reinforces it as I advance through life. So,
Wow.
Awesome, Mr. Ken. We definitely, again, I can't thank you enough for sitting down and telling your story with us, and hopefully, we will reach our goal as far as being able to reach others, and someone to hear this and this message will transcend and resonate to them, their souls, and that they can be able to overcome whatever issues that they have as far as battling with whatever issues they have.
even if it hits one.
Even if it hits one.
Yeah.
Do you have any final gems that you want to leave with somebody watching right now that may be picking up their drink or trying to, get past this battle and struggling and they need to hear something positive?
I would ask, does it really help? Is it really benefiting you? And you need to answer that question with brutal honesty.
Right.
Because if it doesn't, then you've got a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Well, thank you so much, sir, on behalf of Truth No Chaser. We appreciate your bravery and sitting down with us and being open and honest and transparent.
Absolutely.
And as he said, addiction sees no color. It can happen to anybody.
It happened to anybody. Well, thank you, sir.
okay.
All right, so we can wrap that one.